Elon Musk is many things. He's a billionaire, innovator, Twitter chaos agent, but now he's decided to try his hand at being the authority on, guess what? Treason. Musk isn't just suggesting that Alexander Vindman is a bad actor. Elon Musk is outright accusing Alexander Vindman of betraying this country. And let's be clear, when someone like Elon Musk throws down an accusation like that, it's not just a comment, it's an earthquake. Alexander Vindman, former Army Lieutenant Colonel, National Security Council official. It seems like a dream or a nightmare that that guy could have a position of power. And the guy who turned a presidential phone call into a full-blown impeachment trial. Think of him as the bureaucratic version of a plot twist, except instead of shocking the audience, he just makes half the country roll their eyes. Alexander Vindman's name alone is enough to make some people clutch their constitution like it's a rosary, and I don't blame them, because here's a guy who didn't just testify against President Trump, his commander-in-chief. He helped ignite the first impeachment by lying, misrepresenting Trump's call with Zelensky. Alexander Vindman conveniently left out the parts of the conversation that didn't fit the narrative. His narrative, the one he wanted to frame Donald Trump for, and those behind him. Pretending that Trump didn't ask about real concerns concerning Hunter Biden's dealing in Ukraine. It was like editing a movie trailer to make a rom-com look like a horror film. It was deceptive and wildly off the mark. And Alexander Vindman's greatest hits don't stop there. During his 2019 impeachment testimony, you might remember he casually revealed that Ukraine offered him the position of defense minister, not once, not twice, but 3 times. He claims he turned it down, but the fact that, I say he claims he turned it down because, I don't know, maybe he secretly was the defense minister. How would we know? But say he did actually turn it down. The fact that Ukraine thought he might say yes, or almost was hinting towards the fact that he had to say yes, that's enough to raise eyebrows. And I would think, hopefully, 1, 2, 3 red flags in the Pentagon break room. Being offered the job of running another country's military while serving in the U.S. Army doesn't exactly scream unquestionable loyalty to me. You break it down in the comments for me. Does that sound like something legit? You leftists, you blue. I know where everybody else stands on this, but you leftists, you NPCs, the ones offended by this topic, explain to me how that makes sense. Of course, Alexander Vindman's backstory adds another layer to the drama. He was born in Soviet Ukraine and immigrated to the U.S. as a child, which by itself doesn't scream treachery, but it does provide some more context to his deep ties with that country. He speaks fluent Ukrainian, which is undoubtedly an asset for someone in his position, but let's face it, assets have a funny way of turning into liabilities when accusations of dual loyalty start flying around, and conservative critics haven't missed the chance to suggest his loyalties might be divided, and correctly so. But let's not pretend divided loyalties are a rarity in Washington. We might have a lot of treason. We might have a lot of sedition. We might have a lot of insurrection going on in Washington. After all, no one seems to bat an eye at the politicians who proudly hold dual citizenship with that funny country 7,000 miles away, around the size of New Jersey, while drafting U.S. foreign policy. Apparently, dual loyalty, and I'm talking about Israel, is a problem only when it's inconvenient to the narrative or when someone's fluent in a language other than Hebrew. Now, Musk never wanted to miss an opportunity to add fuel to the fire, called Alexander Vindman's actions treasonous, and declared he'll face the appropriate penalty. That's a quote. And let's be honest, appropriate penalty sounds ominous enough to double as the title of a dystopian Netflix series. That's kind of dope. I like that. That might be my next book, or my first book. Appropriate penalty. What does Musk mean? Jail time? A hefty fine? He didn't say. Or something more medieval, like stocks in the town square. And I'm not talking about TSLA. Knowing Elon, it could be all of the above, live streamed via Starlink for maximum engagement. Recently, Elon Musk was just joking around, how much does Hasbro cost? We've got one guy who's going to buy up the whole United States. And yeah, I'm not going to ignore, even though Elon Musk is right on Alexander Vindman, Musk's idea of free speech is more flexible than a yoga instructor at a contortionist convention. Elon Musk bans people like Steve Bannon, David Duke, still banned on X. David Duke is left of me on Palestine. He says Palestinians have a right to their territory. That was never my take. David Duke is to the left of me on Palestine. And he's blocked on X, banned still, under Elon Musk. So Elon Musk does that while he claims to champion open dialogue. It's the same BS absolutism that means you're free to speak as long as you're saying something that Elon likes. I'm not done with Elon. Let's take a look at the inconsistency here. Musk accusing someone of treason is rich when you consider his own track record for bending principles for convenience. Take his stance on Israel, for instance. Musk has shown he'll censor critics on behalf of Israel, visit the Wailing Wall, don a yarmulke, and pretend to be Jew-ish if the PR optics are right. He'll go find Ben Shapiro and bend the knee to him if the PR optics are right. Is that treasonous? No, of course it's not. It's not. The mental gymnastics to ignore that might just qualify you for an Olympic medal. It's not exactly free speech absolutism when you're picking and choosing which governments you're willing to pander to, calling other people treasonous when I have questions about you. Alexander Vindman, as it turns out, isn't exactly the poster child for impartiality. He didn't just kick off Trump's impeachment. He's also tied to lucrative defense contract proposals in Ukraine. In 2022, we just found out, as CEO of Trident Support, Alexander Vindman pitched a plan for a Ukraine weapons system sustainment center, a multi-million-dollar venture to repair and maintain military equipment. Helping Ukraine keep their weapons ready sounds noble if you're a blue-hair, non-thinking NPC, but let's not pretend this was a charity operation. This dude spun his insider connections into a business pitch. And this is where Elon Musk's accusations start looking less like conspiracy theories and more like reasonable scrutiny. How does someone go from wearing a U.S. Army uniform and testifying against his commander-in-chief to cutting business deals with foreign governments? It's not just questionable optics, it's the kind of behavior that makes you wonder, what team does Alexander play for? He fired back demanding, what treason? What oligarchs? What oligarchs he's talking about? What oligarchs am I taking paychecks from? Well, we just spelled that out. Are we supposed to forget that he practically built his personal brand on undermining Trump while collecting checks from another country? His strategy is clear. Lean on public sympathy, paint Musk as a loose cannon, and hope no one digs too deep into the receipts. But here's the thing, receipts don't lie. Musk, for all his theatrics, didn't pull this accusation out of thin air. Speaking of theatrics, Musk calling Vindman out on X is like throwing a Molotov cocktail in a room of gasoline. Subtlety isn't exactly Elon's strong suit, but when you own the platform, why whisper when you can shout? And in this case, his shout raises a fair point. When someone's actions blur the line between public service and private profit, it's not unreasonable to toss around a word like treason. Now let's talk about treason, the Beyonce of crimes. It's big time, it's dramatic, and it always steals the spotlight. We're not talking about petty theft or jaywalking. This is the kind of accusation that sends shockwaves through group chats and dinner parties alike. Elon Musk is not stupid. He knows how to cut through the noise. It's the only crime defined in the Constitution, which means the Founding Fathers sat down and said, yeah, we need a special category for this one. And the penalties, let's just say they range from mildly inconvenient to oops, we accidentally built you a guillotine, like the one for Ned Stark in Game of Thrones. The real drama here isn't about whether Vindman's actions constitute treason. We know that we're never going to get there. Even MAGA won't get to that point, even though we should. It's about the audacity of two larger-than-life personalities clashing in the digital coliseum. Remember, like how Elon Musk promised that he was going to put hands on Mark Zuckerberg, and now Mark Zuckerberg's having dinner and getting wined and dined at Mar-a-Lago, trying to get inside Donald Trump's tech inner circle? Don't worry, MAGA will let him in as long as Mark pretends to like Donald Trump. On one side of this debate, you have Elon Musk, the self-described free speech absolutist, who still curates his platform like a nightclub bouncer. On the other side, you have Alexander Vindman, whose actions often feel tailor-made to test the limits of loyalty and accountability. At the end of the day, Elon Musk's accusations aren't baseless. Vindman's entanglements with Ukraine, his selective framing of events, and his willingness to mix public service with private profit make Elon Musk's boldness here seem not just justified, but overdue. Whether this ends with Vindman clearing his name, Elon Musk doubling down on the drama, or both shaking hands at a SpaceX launch, one thing is clear: this isn't just a story, it's a spectacle. And in America, where political theater is the hottest ticket in town, that's about as appropriate as the penalties get.